Buggy the Clown, Luffy's longest-running adversary. He's pursued these Straw Hats all the way from the East Blue to the New World. The 1000 Ryo Clown has been a Roger pirate, a warlord, and now a Yonko. Sure, he's faced his fair share of setbacks, but Buggy rivals Luffy in his ability to roll with the punches. Whatever life throws at him, he turns it back around, and somehow, things work out incredibly. And now, he has made very good use of his experience. With powerful allies and the clout of his position as an emperor behind him, Buggy's once again started to become a serious threat. Luffy might dismiss his former enemy as an idiot, but we'd argue he might be off the Buggy ball here. In this video, we'll be going over Buggy's history, talking about how he rose to the top of the pirate world, and where he might be going next. Could Luffy's first Devil Fruit using opponent make his own place become Pirate King? Let's get into it. Part 1. Welcome to the show. To explain what drives Buggy to excel, we should start with his counterpart. His rival since childhood, the heir to Goldie Roger Straw Hat, and the legendary pirate who Buggy the Clown has always envied, red-haired Shanks. Shanks has always been amazing, a cut above other pirates. Even before the series started, he was a legend. He clashed with CP9 during his days in the East Blue, faced Dracula Mihawk repeatedly with sword duels, and was scarred by Blackbeard. He has been walking with larger-than-life figures since he was a kid in Goldie Roger's crew. Buggy the Clown started in the same place as another apprentice Roger pirate, but ended up on quite a different road. He was not famous or noteworthy when we first met him. Just one more pirate in the age of piracy, doing his best to get by, and it has eaten at him for years. We don't have firm information on Buggy's early days, but we do have room to speculate. We know he and Shanks went their separate ways when the Roger pirates dissolved. Both formed their own crews eventually. While Shanks traveled the Grand Line in that time, eventually becoming a Yonko, Buggy, however, hadn't left the East Blue. He's been outshone by red hair for a long time, and the mere thought of his old friend is enough to make Buggy mad. That envy affects everything about him. Buggy has always gone over the top, favoring showboat tactics and looking cool over pure profit or efficient use of his time. He'll talk up a big game of grabbing treasure, but his main interest just seems to be respect. He built a reputation out of blowing up small towns, ruling through fear, and trying to rack up gold and loot to prove himself. He knows he's not in a weight class with legends like Shanks and Whitebeard, so he limits himself to the East Blue, where he can make more of a name for himself. It's easier to look like a big fish in a small pond, and Buggy will always try to make himself look like the biggest fish he can. Part of this is envy towards Shanks, but there is another point in Buggy's past that might be responsible for this drive towards respect: Goldie Roger. Buggy betrayed the Roger pirates in stealing the Devil Fruit from them, but he still cared about his captain. He cried on that day in Rogue Town just like Shanks did. It's likely Buggy viewed Roger as a father figure and inspiration as a pirate. He likely formed his idea of what makes a pirate great by watching his captain. Who could be a better source of inspiration than the Pirate King? Roger was, by all accounts, a very charismatic man who meant a lot to his men. All the Roger pirates cried when their crew finally disbanded. And while there was more to him than flair, Roger was a king of bombastic, over-the-top spectacle. His battles with the Rock's pirates and Whitebeard's crew were legendary even years later. Roger even used his own execution to change the world. It makes sense that a young Buggy would fixate on the image of Roger as this flashy showman pirate. He was too young and too self-centered to grasp the deeper parts of his character. Years later, Buggy would try to use Roger's execution block to kill Luffy, attempting to get his revenge in the most over-the-top fashion he could think of. He doesn't have the strength or skill, but trying to emulate Roger would explain a lot of Buggy's peculiarities. He also tends to respect his fellow seafarers. While he is arrogant and dismissive of those he views as beneath him, Buggy is usually at least polite to pirates he is not fighting. He and Ace have a full-on party together when the latter shows up at the big top. Notably, in that encounter, Buggy makes it clear that he won't mess with Ace, not out of fear of his personal power, but out of respect for Whitebeard. This could be due to fear of Whitebeard instead of Ace, but Buggy's words suggest otherwise. Rather than talking about the Emperor's personal power, he brings up that Newgate was the only man who was able to fight Goldie Roger, and is closest to retrieving the One Piece. If Buggy still has some hero worship left for his former captain, extending it to his rival makes sense. It even puts his reticence to follow through on his boasting in Marineford in a different light. Buggy, in short, is a pirate's pirate, a man who has always lived life his way and wants to pursue this path to the greatest height possible. As much as he has chased Shanks across his career, he is more of a mirror of Luffy. He might not talk about it, but he also tries to live up to the Pirate King's legacy. Buggy Buggy wants to be the best pirate he can be. He knows he lacks Roger's strength though, and that his self-doubt limited his ambition. Beyond that, Buggy doesn't understand Roger and what he values in the way Luffy does. Luffy doesn't know much about the Pirate King, but values freedom and independence in a way that the Roger pirates recognize. Buggy, however, is more interested in empty spectacle and the flash of wealth. He saw the superficial side of Roger's life and didn't understand his deeper values. Or at least that's what the Genius Jester was like before. But before we get into Buggy's arc, remember to check that you're subscribed to the channel, you've rung the notification bell, and hit that like button for your daily dose of plot armor. Now, back to the show. Part 2. Impelled Down and Out. For a long time, Buggy looked like he was going nowhere. He came off as a weak second-tier villain who couldn't possibly hope to keep up with Luffy and the Straw Hats. He and his crew are effortlessly defeated by Smoker and Roguetown, escaping by dumb luck. We don't run into Buggy for a while after that, bar a brief appearance where they meet Ace. It felt like Oda had forgotten about the clown. But then, the Summit War happened. We meet Buggy again over 250 chapters later, impelled down. He had been arrested for wandering into a marine base, thinking it was a treasure cave. He makes a break for it at the same time as Luffy, ultimately joining with him in his escape attempt. He is not exactly the most enthusiastic partner, but he stays with Luffy all the way through, leaving the prison with him. They flee on the same ship, heading into the tug current to Marineford. And it is here that the story of Buggy the Clown takes a drastic shift. Buggy hears about Luffy's plan to attack Marineford, free Ace, and fight alongside Whitebeard, and naturally, he wants no part of it. As flashy as he likes to get, the Genius Jester knows when he is outmatched. But then, the Navy calls her escape ship, and the operator identifies Buggy as Luffy's partner in the escape. Inadvertently, the naval officer sells the hell out of Buggy to the listening crew. He's not only a former Roger pirate, but Shanks' blood brother? Of course he is an infamous mastermind. They are more worried about him than Jinbei and Crocodile, two former warlords of the sea. The other escapees start cheering Buggy's legendary past, even as he tries to talk them out of it. As much as Buggy likes to talk himself up, he has always kept his past under wraps. Being linked to Shanks and Roger is just going to make powerful people see him as a threat. But as the pirates keep chanting Buggy's name, an idea comes to the clown. He is enjoying the attention and the praise and respect. And a lot of these prisoners are dangerous. If they're willing to work for him, he might legitimately have a shot at bigger things. Thus, Buggy rejects the mutiny idea. Instead, he declares that he will join in the Battle of Marineford and take Whitebeard's head. This is to the cheers of the escaped pirates and a mild, "huh?" from Luffy and his friends. It was insane. Buggy was going into a battle of legends he couldn't hope to stack up against. But it worked. He might not have taken Whitebeard's head, but he got to broadcast himself to the world and made it through the Summit War just fine. Impressive when you consider Buggy's crew went into the fight as an enemy to pretty much everyone. He gets to have Whitebeard acknowledge him as a peer. He manages to leave with Shanks, taking his new crewmates through the storm of warfare and back into the seas proper. And he does it with his head held high. The world government certainly seems to respect Buggy's performance. He's offered a place as a warlord of the sea a mere 3 weeks after Marineford. The Genius Jester not only takes him up on the idea, but turns it into a profitable business in no time. Buggy's Delivery, a pirate mercenary service. It is a very sharp idea. Since any act of piracy done by Buggy's crew counts as business of a warlord of the sea, this gives a whole fleet of legal protection. Buggy can have an army of subcontracted pirates pillage for him and take a percentage of the take. It's all he'd wanted. Power, wealth, importance. And hey, he doesn't even have to work for it. Buggy must have felt like things were finally going his way. And so it kinda sucks that the 7 Warlord system ended shortly afterwards. And so yeah, Buggy and Luck have a very interesting relationship. Part 3. Emperor of Cross Guild. Buggy's most recent rise to prominence has been quite the shock for the One Piece fandom. His rise to Yonko status caught most of us by surprise. After all, when we'd last seen him, he was on the run from the world government, and possibly his own crew. We now know that Buggy became a Yonko due to his forming a group called Cross Guild. This new organization posts bounties for prominent Marines, paying pirates cash to hunt down naval personnel. This in itself isn't that surprising. It's bold, sure, but it's something Buggy would do. He's fought Marines in the past, even sworn vengeance against them. Now that the 7 Warlord system is over, there is no more Buggy's Delivery. The Genius Jester lost his profitable business and fancy headquarters overnight thanks to the world government. He had had to find a new line of work somewhere, one that sticks it to his last employer is just a bonus. No. The surprising thing is Buggy's choice of partners. Dracula Mihawk, the legendary swordsman, and Sir Crocodile, one-time master of Baroque works. Not only are these two men significantly more powerful than Buggy, but they might be some of his least likely allies. After all, they've met him. Both ran across Buggy during the Summit War. Crocodile was a fellow escapee of Impel Down, and Mihawk fought against the Clown as one of the 7 warlords. These two know full well that Buggy's not exactly the stuff of legends. Mihawk deflected his Buggy ball without a second thought, and Crocodile is a good enough judge of character to see through his posturing. So why'd they join him? We can only speculate for the moment, but the cross-guild flyer could be telling. Look closely at it. At first glance, it seems like Buggy is bragging about his new powerful subordinates. He's right there, front and center, towering above Mihawk and Crocodile. But there is nothing on the poster that flat out says Buggy is supposed to be in charge. Shrink his image and name just a bit, and remove the Buggy Pirate Jolly Roger from the center. This starts looking more like the announcement of an alliance. An equal partnership between 3 powerful men. That's something that Crocodile and Mihawk might have been more willing to tolerate. Buggy may very well have just let his ego get the better of him when designing the flyer. If we look at Cross Guild as a more even business relationship, it starts to make a lot more sense. The ending of the warlord system left Mihawk and Buggy without government sanction. Crocodile lost his after Arabasta. All 3 men stand to benefit from a counterpower to the world government, an organization that can put them on the opposite sides of the Marines that are hunting them. Even Mihawk, for all his power, must have eventually gotten annoyed at the tedium of unworthy challengers. With the success of Sabo's 8-nation revolution, there's suddenly a lot more regular people with an open grudge against the world government. We have seen how oppressive a single Marine captain on a power trip can get. Cross Guild is the perfect set of middlemen for those who want payback on the Navy. They can take your money, minus a small percentage, and publicize the bounty to the pirate world. You can have your vengeance with no fear of reprisal. Maybe the guild has an additional sideline business or two, like sharing intel on targets to favorite clients who pay extra for it, or sending out their own team for a premium fee. The trio all bring something to the table for an operation like this. Mihawk is strong enough to discourage retribution, and getting first pick of tough targets would be tempting. Crocodile's got the experience to set up the infrastructure, and he's always had a taste for finer things. Buggy's got the funds from his mercenary business, and the charisma to sell this to pirates in mass. Now, Cross Guild will have its limits. Random run-of-the-mill pirates aren't going to take down an admiral. Unless it's Ryokugyu maybe. But the Navy isn't just made up of admirals. It's the captains and marines that make up the wider fleet. These aren't going to get the biggest bounties from the Cross Guild, but they're much easier targets. When the Marines are already stretched thin, mass casualties have more of an impact. More and more, the Navy's going to have difficulty being everywhere. It's a smart move. It's going to make the 3 partners a lot of money and make the Navy's lives miserable. Buggy will be laughing at his former employers all the way to the bank. Part 4. The Clown Who Would Be King. With Cross Guild in his corner, Buggy is actually in a position to become the Pirate King. Buggy's got an armada on his side if he wants it thanks to the Cross Guild bounty system. It's arguable that only Blackbeard and his 10 Titanic captains can compete with these kinds of numbers. But that power alone will not make him Pirate King. That title only goes to the one who can claim the One Piece. Buggy himself, an ardent follower of Roger, wouldn't accept anything less than that. If the genius jester wants to seize the throne, he's going to have to play the same game as the other contenders. Gather the road poneglyphs, reach Laugh Tale, and take the prize. Can he do it? If he's able to get his partners on board, they might be able to pull it off. Mihawk and Crocodile are both formidable combatants, and Buggy can back them up with a full-blown pirate army. But neither of his allies have much to gain from Buggy becoming Pirate King. The title itself doesn't mean anything. Crocodile might be tempted by the prospect of wealth, but all the other powerful contenders in this fight will likely put him off. Mihawk would relish the challenge of fighting worthy foes, but the end result will be less interesting to him. He's got all he needs already. Buggy has his work cut out for him trying to convince these 2 men to join him when their motivations are directly opposite to each other. And beyond that, there is another question. Does Buggy want to be Pirate King? He absolutely did in the past. If we run with the idea that he's been chasing Goldie Roger's footsteps, it will be his wildest dreams come true. Becoming Pirate King would prove that Buggy is a great pirate, one people should respect. But how? He's pretty much gotten everything he could want even without becoming Pirate King. He's already powerful with a crew and reputation. He is a Yonko, an emperor, one of the greatest pirates in the world. He's a successful, awe-inspiring, flashy figure he's always wanted to be. So what more could getting to Laugh Tale do? It would be the ultimate proof of the superiority to Shanks and Luffy, but Buggy's put his rivalry aside in the past. Before that, he prioritizes what is good for himself. And going down this road might cost Buggy everything. Cross Guild can have infinite resources. Assembling an army will take a big payout. There is no guarantee they'll reach Laugh Tale and get that money back. Buggy might be forced to choose between his past vendetta against Luffy and Shanks and everything he's built since then. Yeah, Buggy can be rash and not think things through, but with no firm knowledge of what the One Piece is, will he really risk everything to try and take it? My bet is that he walks away. He might have to think about it, but he's happy with what he has. He might even help Luffy out, either hoping for a favor later on, or finally seeing in him what Shanks did oh so long ago. The Return of Goldie Roger. Part 5. Cross Blades. That's a more fortunate ending for Buggy, one that lets him lead the story of One Piece with what he's gained. But the Thousand Ryo Clown doesn't always play things safe and stay content. If he does overreach, picks one last fight with Luffy and gets slapped down to earth a final time, what might that look like? Well, it's probably not going to be around the One Piece. More likely, Luffy will end up fighting Buggy over Cross Guild's regular operations. Like I said earlier, Cross Guild is likely to have the biggest impact on low-ranking Navy officers, those who don't have the crazy powers of an admiral. It's pretty easy for Marines to rack up grudges even without being in overall command. What if Caesar Clown posted a bounty for Smoker and Tashigi looking for payback over Punk Hazard? Or former Captain Morgan offered money for Kobe and Helmeppo's heads, vengeance for losing his position back during Romance Dawn. Marines and pirates may be natural enemies, but Luffy has enemies among other pirates and friends among the Marines. Plus, Straw Hat Luffy isn't the type to let labels stop him from doing what he thinks is right. If he hears about someone gunning for his friends, he's going to go help them out. He'll go out of his way to try and save people he cares about, taking out whoever Cross Guild sent. That would be annoying for Buggy, but this situation could get far worse. What if Luffy finds out the attacks are ongoing? That pirates won't stop trying to kill his Marine friends due to Cross Guild bounty system? Well, Luffy is a pretty direct kind of guy. He may very well just go for the simplest solution: destroy Cross Guild. He's beaten Crocodile and Buggy before. Mihawk is a different matter, but even that guy's going to have a hard time dealing with Gear 5. If the Straw Hats and Cross Guild end up on a collision course, it is only going to go one way. And if Buggy actually manages to kill someone Luffy cares about, or even seriously hurt them, well, we've seen how serious Luffy can get. He won't kill Buggy, but he'll wreck Cross Guild down to the foundations if the clown hurt any of his friends. Buggy could end his One Piece tenure sitting in the wreckage of everything he's tried to build. Kinda a fitting parallel to the ruins he left Orange Town in when we first encountered him. But then again, bounties do excite Luffy, so maybe he won't be able to see another perspective where it is negative. And hey, maybe fate has something else in store for Buggy. What do you think might happen to him? Do you have a favorite Buggy moment? Feel free to sound off in the comments down below. As always, I'm Slice of Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.